Okay. Thank you very much, Glenn. It's lovely to be back here in your new home. Last time I spoke here was at the archives downtown. Uh, Glenn is absolutely right. I think we've all been to flea markets, rummage sales, maybe a relative's basement, attic, and we've all seen postcards that interested us. Perhaps they were of military nature. And I think the first instinct when you see a postcard like this is to flip it over and see what it says on the back. And if you're lucky, God bless you, Jack McKernan, has given you not only his unit that he was in at the time the photo was taken, the unit he enlisted with, his location, where he enlisted, where he was when the photo was taken, but also his service number. So thanks to this, if you were to find Jack McKernan's postcard at a sale somewhere, it leaves you with no work to do whatsoever because he's already done it for you. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you very much. We're good to go. Now, you will probably also guess that this is rare because much more likely you find a postcard with a very appealing image. This young man looks probably 17, 18 maybe. You flip it over and, oh, no. This is much more typical. A postcard, photograph, anything that is entirely unidentified. And the solution to this problem, or the way to solve this problem, is the subject that I want to start with first thing this morning. In many cases, the most you can do is narrow down the range of possibilities, but it is possible in certain situations to make an identification, albeit tentative, with nothing on the back whatsoever. Obviously, if you have initials even, that can help to narrow things down. That can improve the odds. So I just want to go through very quickly and using a practical example at the end, a series of steps that you might use to try and make sense of postcards when the people who were pictured on them didn't have the human decency to put their name on them. Now, one of the things I'm not going to talk about because it's simply for matters of time, I won't go into the mysteries of the field of deltiology, the study of postcards, because this is an incredibly complicated, some might say arcane field that has produced vast amounts of web content, et cetera, et cetera. You can, for example, tell a great deal from the stamp boxes on the upper right corner, exactly what they say, the combination of letters and triangles or letters and other shapes. And books have been written on which particular stamp boxes were used at which particular times and by which manufacturers. And so there's much more information available online through deltiology websites that I could ever provide you with today. But I want to focus on the tricks then of the image side. And again, the intention is to narrow down the range of possibilities to at least give you a fighting chance of determining who your individual is. One of the first things you need to be aware of is the difference between British, Canadian, and European postcard stock. This is the paper it's printed on. Now, again, because we're Canadian and because we're kind and decent people, we actually printed usually on Canadian postcard stock made in Canada, which was terribly helpful. The French, not so much. The British, occasionally. So you can quickly determine by looking at the back of your postcard where it was printed. This is not necessarily going to get you that much farther ahead, but it will reduce the range of possibilities. And if you are interested in the Canadian experience like me, the first thing you want to do is to determine whether your individual is even Canadian, despite how the image might be advertised on eBay. Now, fortunately, there are some obvious distinguishing differences that we can look at. American soldiers tended to have very different kinds of headgear, either the wedge cap or the Stetson version that you see on the right. They also had these very distinctive round collar badges often with the unit number in them. And this is the sort of thing that if you have a postcard, you can see from whether it's close up or not, make out the outline of a round collar badge, because most other armies, most other units didn't use round collar badges, with a few minor but significant exceptions. The Anzacs were also very good about using different kinds of headgear. So the fellow on the left, the famous Aussie slouch hat, and on the right, the legendary New Zealand lemon squeezer hats, as they were known at the time. These will allow you to determine right away that your person is actually Australian or a New Zealander. And you can also see here the distinctive Anzac badge. Unfortunately, as I'll see in a sec, these badges here are not distinctive and really don't help you much at all. So if you can eliminate the Americans, the Australians, and the New Zealanders, that leaves you with the British. And that's where things get very difficult. And the problem is that in the First World War, Canada used almost exclusively British kit. And so at a distance, they all look the same. And this is made a little more complicated by the fact that a lot of the badges that we'd see these people wear were also the same. And so you can see the Canadian Field Artillery badge on the left, the Royal Field Artillery badge on the right. The only real difference is Canada here versus UBIC here. Virtually impossible to spot that in a small photograph, even if it's magnified enormous number of times. Similar sorts of things with lots of other badges, the Engineers, the Service Corps, et cetera, et cetera. The British ones look close enough to the Canadian ones that in a postcard it's very difficult to tell the difference. You can always look for Canada on the shoulder of the uniform. Again, in the distinctive sort of curved shape here, or in the straight bar. The issue is there that other units use similar sorts of shoulder tags, and so unless you can get close enough to see what it is, it's very difficult to make a determinant. You would also see on the shoulders abbreviations of units. CE for Canadian Engineers, CFA, Canadian Field Artillery. Others that are more obscure, and I've been doing this for a number of years now, and I'm still coming up against abbreviations on shoulder tags that I didn't know about. The most recent one was SRE, which I struggled with for months, trying to figure out what it meant. And I won't say I had some sleepless nights over it, but I had some sleepless nights over it. Anyone know what SRE means in the context of the First World War? I never would have guessed. It means skilled railway employees. So there's a big push on the middle of the war to enlist railwaymen to work on the tram lines behind the lines. And they were enlisted not only in the Canadian Railway troops, but into these skilled railway employees units who had their own distinctive shoulder title. So SRE, skilled railway employees. You can also look for the number on the collar with the distinctive C over it. And here we have a gentleman from the 38th Battalion, Ottawa Battalion. And that is helpful because it not only identifies your man as a Canadian, but it identifies him as infantry. And that will help to narrow down the possibilities as well. And the final thing you can look for that tends to be instructive if you're trying to determine the nationality of your person is the legendary, or people who are interested in these things. Legendary 7-button tunic, which you see here on the right. And this is often a pretty good giveaway. You do see Canadians wearing 5-button tunics, the British style, particularly in Britain and France. But you rarely see British soldiers wearing the 7-button tunics. And so this is how my wife and kids have been trained to buy postcards when I'm out with them. Simply count the number of buttons on the tunic and pay no attention to people who think you're strange. And it works quite well. So let's imagine then that you have confirmed that your individual in the photograph you have found is actually Canadian. So where do you go now? Well, the first thing I believe is to know your enemy. And this is your enemy, the General Service Badge, which originated during the South African War, 1899 to 1902, was created as a distinguishing insignia for the Canadian contingent. During the First World War, it was worn much more widely. It would be worn by soldiers when they first enlisted before their unit received its issue of distinctive unit badges. It might be worn while men were being transferred from one unit to another. It would be worn when they were at the front lines. It's a nice idea, and probably was good at the time, but it's terrible for people who like to analyze photographs. Again, very thoughtless of them to do this because it makes it virtually impossible to identify a person based on unit. Much more helpful are the original distinctive unit badges, such as this one, and all infantry units had a distinctive badge authorized, and you see it here and also on the collars there. And even without the aid of a high-power scanner, you can see that this fellow is from the 129th Battalion. Which immediately narrows your range of possibility down to roughly 1,100, 1,200 individuals. We're getting there. We've gone from 620,000 to 1,100. So I call that success. However, it's not always quite that easy. The badges aren't always quite as obvious as that. We are assisted by the fact that studio photography at the time of the First World War was actually highly sophisticated and produced incredibly sharp images. So if it was done properly in a studio and if the individual stood still, you can actually magnify it a lot and still retain image quality. And this would allow you to identify badges that to the naked eye or even to a small scanner would be indiscernible. So it would allow you to take a badge like this, which is really difficult to make up or make out. I have a scanner that goes to 4800 DPI. Size does matter. And if you get up to that levels of magnification, you can see that that badge is actually this badge from the 65th Battalion in Saskatchewan. And so by magnifying it, fiddling with the contrast, doing some of the magical things that you can do with image software, you can actually make out a badge that before the advent of this sort of technology would have been indiscernible. Now this is true for studio photographs. Candid photographs, which were becoming very common in the First World War, are unfortunately of a much lower quality. So studio photography is actually sharper, better than most digital photography nowadays. Certainly better than what we have on our telephones, cell phones. Candid photography that you would do with a sort of Kodak Brownie or that sort of thing was of a much poorer quality. Tends to be blurrier even when you're looking at it, and so blowing it up really achieves nothing at all. So if you're dealing with candid photographs or amateur photographs, there's really not much you can do. In that type of photograph, you really have to look for other clues elsewhere. and you want to get used to looking for numbers in unusual places. Oh, sorry. So here we have one where they're very kindly wearing these headbands, which says 164th Battalion, which is terribly useful. If you look at this one on the drum, it says 147th Battalion. Again, very handy. And let me go back to that first one. This fellow here is wearing what is, I am sure, a hand-knitted sweater that says 161 on it, 161st Battalion. I don't think either the sweater or the hatband were official government issue, but there they are, so we use them as we can. So look carefully at the photographs in places that you might not expect, and you may find clues. You can also learn a lot from the uniforms and the kit, the nature of the tunic, the webbing that they wear, the weapons, the soft caps, because certain styles came in at certain times of the war. And that will allow you to conclude when this person was kitted out, and again, eliminate possibilities from your range of options. This is a really complicated subject, and again, not one that I want to get into in much detail here. I would suggest instead that you look at one of the really good guidebooks, reference books, particularly ones published by Service Publications here in Ottawa, which will tell you all you need to know about when you should look for tunic pockets with pleats and when you should look for tunic pockets without pleats, which can tell you a range of different things. And they will cover all of the different badges, insignia, other stuff that you were likely to see in a photograph. And at the end of that process, you should be able to narrow it down you've gone from 620,000 individuals to say 1,100. By looking at the details very carefully, you should be able to narrow it down even more closely. And let me begin with, or end with, as an example, I want to go through this image in stages to give you a sense of what you might be able to learn from it. So I picked this up, I suppose, on eBay, where I get most things, a number of years ago. As soon as I saw it, flipped it over, it was blank on the back. It was British postcard stock, so I knew it was printed in Britain, but there was no indication of a manufacturer's, a studio's name, so that was no help. So immediately I put this aside as a kind of research project. And I'm going to use this as a kind of test case, because there are certain things in here that make it really easy to identify the individual, and certain things that make it very difficult. So first of all, he is very kindly wearing the C collar badges, and if that was blown up, you could see it was C over the number 2. So we know he was a member of the 2nd Battalion from Eastern Ontario. So that narrows it down. Now, sadly, it doesn't narrow it down too much. 2nd Battalion was the 1st contingent unit, so we haven't narrowed it down to 1,100. We've narrowed it down probably to about 11,000 if you take in all the men who passed through it over the course of the war. So that's not a great deal of help. Rank stripes, that helps. He's wearing the rank stripes of a corporal. And we know that units only carry a certain number of corporals at any given time. This is what they call the establishment. And so that will, right there, limit the number of possibilities. Now, going down the right arm, we see these little chevrons here. These are service chevrons, which you would get 1 chevron for each year of service outside of Canada. And they were approved in December 1917. So that tells us fairly specifically when the photograph was taken. It was taken probably between January 1918 and the end of the war, or the return of Canadians after the war. Now, if we know it was taken in January 1918, we work backwards. In order for him to have collected 4 chevrons by the time the photo was taken, he must have left Canada with the first contingent in October 1914. So we know right away that he's one of the originals. Now, it's possible that he started with a different unit and was moved into the 2nd Battalion later, in which case everything I said becomes meaningless. But we go with the first presumption. And so we'll presume that he was original to the 2nd Battalion and earned all of his 4 service chevrons in that battalion from the beginning of the war to the end. We go over to the left sleeve, and you'll see there's a little vertical bar worn there, which is a little brass bar about, 2.5, 3 inches long. This is a wound stripe that you would wear on your left sleeve close to the cuff. So we know that our man was wounded in action once. And then if we go up a little bit, there's another badge here, which is very difficult to make out even on high magnification. But I think it's actually crossed muskets. So I think it's a musketry instructor's badge. And my guess is that if this guy was an original, at some point he came back to Britain, qualified as a musketry instructor, and then was entitled to wear the cross muskets on his sleeve. I'm also going to go out on a limb and say this is probably a wedding photograph. I mean, it's not quite Say Yes to the Dress, but it has all the hallmarks of a wedding. And I think she looks quite stunning in her suit there, and he looks suitably dashing. It also makes sense that it's a wedding because we know there was a huge increase in the number of weddings between Canadian soldiers and British women at the end of the war, particularly after December 1918. Everyone wanted to marry before they went home, so I'm going to guess that this picture was taken in that context. Probably either in the fall of 1918 or the spring of 1919, because if you look in the background, it's things are in leaf. Hard to say with English weather, but that would be my guess anyways. And so that is a way to take a anonymous photo and give it some identity. So what we're looking for is not one of 620,000 Canadian soldiers who served in the Canadian Expeditionary Force. We're looking for someone who was a corporal in the 2nd Battalion at the end of the war, one of the battalion originals, someone who was qualified as a musketry instructor, someone who was wounded once in action, and someone who sometime in 1918, 1919 applied to his commanding officer, which you had to do then, applied to his commanding officer for permission to marry. And I'm guessing that if you were to search, probably not very long, in the battalion's nominal rolls, in the service records, in Part 2 orders, you wouldn't find too many individuals who ticked all those boxes, who met all those qualifications that the photograph demonstrates. I haven't done that last step yet, but I would guess, and I would hope, there probably only be one person who ticks all those boxes. And so, being very mindful of the time, as I was told to stop at 9:30, what we have here is some very simple steps which anyone can develop an expertise in simply by using a number of published reference guides or online sources. A number of steps that will take you from an anonymous photograph through a little bit of detective work to what you can probably identify by name. And so I think that's the joy of this process. What you can do with a little careful digging, and because we're genealogists, we're all very good at careful digging, is you can take an anonymous, unidentified photograph and a little bit of hard work, you can give this young couple their names back. So thank you very much.